Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Candid Conversations about network marketing with myself, BK, and of course, naturally, our guest over here, Dr. Wayne Pigstone. Hi, Dr.
Hi
Wayne.
everyone. Hi BK. How you going,
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not a guest, it's a co-host.
mate?
And because
That's right.
we always say that it's a candid conversation, so sometimes you're going to see us make some blunders like this, and we want to make sure that it's always in the face, so that because we want to be candid about everything, right, Doc?
Yeah. Bloopers included, yes. And I love the new setup you got there, mate. It looks fantastic.
So I'm sure you're gonna catch up very soon but I kind of find that you have issues finding some equipment over in Australia, or at least where you're staying sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, we do, especially in a community where we are. It's a little bit difficult, but that's okay. We'll get there.
Surfing community, people there just surf around. Not I surf on the internet, you surf on the waves.
Yes, that's it. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, and it's been huge lately. The surf has been actually that big. It's too big for me. It's huge, huge, huge. So I'll let all the professionals go out and enjoy themselves.
Stay safe on the waves. Yeah, if you
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So today, what are we going to talk about, Doc?
I thought we'd talk about the climate of, not the climate in terms of how things are with the weather, but the climate of when things are not going so well with regards to climate. So that might be, so at present we've had some huge falls in the Dow and the stock market, for example. Oil prices are going down. You can see that there's more pessimism, especially with this virus that's been around at present as well. There's things happening whereby people are unfortunately moving into the fear rather than, I don't know the words to use, but it's kind of like pessimism and fear seems to be the major drivers of what's going on at present.
Yeah, I guess it's also because it's human nature, and
Yeah,
uncertainty kind of it kind of drives certain behaviors. So, and also of course, there's a mass mentality. So when everybody starts to act in a certain way, that kind of drives the overall climate. But you're totally right. I mean, we could talk about that today, right? Yeah.
yeah. And what happens then is how it impacts the network marketer. So the what can happen if we basically herd in that same mentality. And I think I've mentioned it, maybe just talking personally to yourself. I just can't remember where I've mentioned it because I have so many one-on-one consultations and then other areas that I speak. The big thing that happens is when we have a driver of an emotion that is really consistent and that is at the forefront of our brain, then what happens is we don't sleep very well because we're now challenged by those thoughts of fear or whatever it might be. And then what happens is typically because of a bad night's sleep, that will now drop our immune system by 50% approximately for the next 3 days. Now what happens, now that keeps on driving a cycle of more and more fear. So how do we stop that? What do we need to do? And I know we've spoken about the importance of understanding the difference between conscious and subconscious with regards to meditation, with regards to prayer, whatever word we use, to me, they're the same types of words. In that we sit still. And in sitting still, we now can come back to our essence, which means no fear. So if we go back to even right back at our first podcasts and our first challenge, our first descriptions of challenges of the network marketer, one of them is basically having time to sit still.
Yeah.
And when you have time to sit still, you can allow these emotions then to go. Now, just to bring this home, how we can now either allow this to keep on occurring negatively or positively, there's a huge herd mentality at present, whether you're walking, whether you're at the gym, to basically have podcasts, basically to have, or the uh, the news in front of you, watching the news or listening to something that's going on around in the world. Now, if the podcast or that is positive, I kind of don't have a challenge with that.
Yeah.
However, a lot of the stuff that we're listening to or watching is actually the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And what happens now is when we're exercising and when we're in a state of allowing our heart rate now to come up, and we can do that in exercise or just in fear. When that occurs, there's different types of hormones and endorphins that are released. And what happens is our thought processes, if they're negative or we're listening to something negative, now actually become stronger within us. And what that does, unfortunately, then it drives more fear. And we don't even know then that we're actually being driven into FOMO, fear of missing out. And we're seeing that with toilet paper in Australia. I don't know about Singapore. We're seeing that in all around the world with groceries. And even now I come across something this morning that in our area, and I think it's Australia, but the shopping centres are suggesting that from 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning, it's only for the elderly because they can't actually get in to the shops because people are basically trampling all over the top of them to get these FOMO stuff, and it's such a shame. So to the network market, if you're actually watching the wrong things and not going back, watching the right things, but you're watching the wrong things, and you're not going back to the essence that we talked about in sitting still, allowing the brain basically to go down into a theta wave so you can now actually bring about a positive response. And unfortunately, if you have a conscious thought process of, I am not fearful, but subconsciously you are fearful, this will win all the time. This is where sometimes by listening to the stuff, meaning positive stuff, it still won't override, listening to positive stuff in the conscious, it still won't override the subconscious. Meditation will actually help that enormously. So it's trying to move through all this stuff so the network marketer can understand that we're actually coming back to self-development again. And everything that we hear about network marketing is, yes, the product of whatever company you're with may be fantastic and the ethos may be great and the compensation plan may be great, but really what a network marketing, what I love about it is that its ability to take you from where you are to another level. But we've got to understand the basics. And where I'm going here, once again, just to reiterate it, is sitting still, not having noise, sitting still with nature, wherever that may be. And sometimes you might have nature. You might have only a window looking at nature. That's fine. So it's then trying to sit still with self and allow you then to percolate and to allow these things to come up and then allow them to dissipate.
Yeah, it's kind of like protecting your mind. I mean, what Dr. Wayne you're just talking about is that it's like we sometimes don't even realize that there are a lot of things that can influence us. And of course, there's that voice inside us, there's subconscious that you're talking about. And we kind of need to sit still to remove a lot of the negative influences. I think what I'm getting from you is that at the very core of our essence or our being, if you want to think of it that way, there is that place where we are fearless, we are abundant, we are safe. But along the way of growing up, or we kind of have another layer outside it that is like fear. And then if you go out even more, of course, what we have in the conscious world now, we have other things that kind of feeds and drives it in even deeper in that sense, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you're just talking about it, I just kind of like an imagery came to mind. It's like, sometimes people kind of don't really get what we are saying because it sounds a bit too abstract sometimes. But to understand this is actually very simple. If you ever have watched a movie, and every one of us would have, when you sit in the movie theater, you kind of know that you can understand that your emotions are being moved along by the director or by the movie. You can feel happiness, you can feel joy, you can feel be very sad. You can even sometimes cry because of what they are doing in the movie. So be very conscious of what we are doing, because all the news, all the chat groups, all the everything, that even if you are going to the gym and the gym has the news on, it's just going to drive more of these things, right, Doc?
And then what happens is, because now we've herded with everyone else, unfortunately, what can then happen is we notice our network marketing business, our DMO is not occurring the way it should be. We're noticing then that the income can drop. And then what we can do then is blame the circumstances of what's happening.
Yeah.
Whereas what's really happening, and I know this may sound harsh or difficult, is that the challenge is that we're actually resonating with this thought at a deeper subconscious level that is similar. And because they're similar, that's what then happens. If we can now take responsibility and say, okay, I get that. And what you said is really, really real, is that I use the analogy when I'm talking with people, especially at business level or even at the personal level. What we've got to literally do, and I'm doing it now, is I'm kind of putting my inner intuitive self up in the wall like a camera. And I'm actually watching myself, and I'm doing it now as we're speaking. I'm watching myself talk, but actually being very discerning with the words that I'm saying. Very hard to do all the time. Understand that. However, if we can do that more and more, so now we are the witnesser of our own reality. Therefore, we have split seconds of now saying, well, do I want to be a part of that I am now feeling, or do I not want to be a part of that I'm now feeling? And we can then change that once we then see it and then understand it. However, when we're in a state of emotional fear, alcohol, drugs, all these things won't be able to let us discern that reality that I just spoke about.
Yeah, I mean, some books have alluded it to. It's called a still small voice.
Yes.
So if you are just not paying attention, it can kind of not be very loud because it's so. I totally get it. Sometimes if you are not conscious, I think what you were just saying just now, being 100% aware of what you are saying is actually difficult. You know,
Oh.
I make that mistake sometimes. I find that I shoot off my mouth sometimes, and then food in your mouth. So you kind of sometimes need to slow down when you're talking, especially as a network marketer as well. And I mean, it's a side track, but it's like, when we talk to people, we kind of have to be very sensitive, because everybody is different, and not everything is going to resonate with everyone. So if you want to be a professional network marketer, then you kind of have to learn how to speak differently to different people and be sensitive to them, right, Dr. Wayne?
And as we've said, I think many times before, but in different ways, I don't think so directly as I'll say it now. The three major skills of network marketing is to not talk, to not talk, to not talk. And
to listen.
To listen, to listen, to listen, to ask, and we've said this many times before, to ask the deeper questions, to ask those questions that allow the person to actually open up into their reality. So, I think the major theme for today is, it doesn't matter. We could have talked about this during Ebola, for example. We could have talked about this during a tsunami that's happened. That there's going to be times, and there will always be times. And Jim Rohn talks about it. The most important thing about a season is we know that after that season is going to be a better season. Or if there's not a good season, then there's a better season. But if there's a better season, we know then there's going to be not such a good season. And we know then to roll through this. And it's difficult when you're in it. I understand it. But if we take full responsibility and we are coachable during this, you can find your weaknesses. If your business is going down, look at why that is occurring. Is it because I'm listening to all this stuff too much and taking it in?
Yeah.
And it's okay to listen to this stuff because we need to understand what's going on out there. I'm not saying to close our ears, but it's how we then actually emotionally take that on. That's what we're really talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, we just want to take it in for the information so that we can
Yes.
protect it, so that we can protect ourselves or our family members. But we don't want to internalize it and become emotional about it,
Yeah.
right? So we want to process the information. But I really like what you were just saying just now, that because what you're saying is that if this current climate and it causes the decline in your business, it's kind of a direct relation, a reflection of what is actually going on in your inner self, because you kind of think that that is going to be the way, right? What I want to point out here is that sometimes if you look at, it doesn't matter. It can be business, it can be the stock market, it can be now network marketing business. You will realize that in a tough time like this, in seasons where it is winter time, like what Jim Rohn says, there will still be people that are thriving.
Yes.
They are doing very well. In fact, they come out of the winter even stronger than the rest of the people. So
Yeah.
then you got to ask yourself, why is that the case? Because if your mental picture, or if your mental mentality, your the accepted principle, the accepted mindset you have is that things are going to be bad, why is it the case for some other people, right? Why are they able to do it? So then you kind of can understand that there is a difference, right?
Yeah.
Because the wind is blowing the same for every one of us.
Yeah. Yes.
So why are some people able to come out of the stock market stronger? Why are some businesses thriving? And why are some network marketers seeing an improvement in their business, and yet yours is going down in a sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a question or is that the?
It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, it is. But going back and answering it is, so say for example, we'll talk about, say myself and another partner. I've got Wayne A and Wayne B. Okay, so Wayne A is not coachable, not responsible. So what happens now is we go into a really deep winter. Say the Great Depression of the 1930s. Say we're living in the 1930s. Wayne A is not coachable, not responsible. I will blame the world. I will resonate with everything that has been said. Fear of missing out. I'll be running to the shops. I'll be doing all these things. And therefore, I won't grow and I'll see my business. I'll be seeing everything going down. Whereas Wayne B over here, he sees all this and then he reflects. He then looks at, okay, I'm responsible, I'm uncoachable. I see the things that I am fear-based with. I meditate on that. I sit still in that, getting back to where we started. I sit still in this moment. And what will happen is intuitively, the truth will then bubble up and allow you to let go of whatever that may be that resonates in the same energy fields. Because once you, and it's called the law of resistance, once you actually allow yourself to be okay with the law of resistance, what happens then is you basically then, it becomes null and void. And then you now can take, if this is Wayne B over here, all of a sudden Wayne B's network marketing, even during the Great Depression, is actually going through the roof. He's actually making unbelievable changes. His downline is getting bigger and bigger and stronger. He's teaching the same beliefs in terms of meditating and all the rest of it, and they're getting bigger and stronger. And I think that's the way to look at it. In terms of the answering that question.
Yeah. So I think our next episode, Dr. Wayne, you have to teach us how to meditate.
Yes, we can do that. We can do that.
Could
There's
do
many,
that.
many different ways, and I've been fortunate enough to meditate with 5,000, 10,000, and just myself.
You gotta be comfortable in your own skin.
Yes, yes, yes.
Then you can
And
be.
it takes a while. Like this is 60 something years of being comfortable, and I'm still at times, which is good, because when I look at it in terms of when I'm not comfortable in my own skin and I'm coachable and responsible for that, it takes you to another level. takes you to another level of finding out more about who you are.
Yeah. So that kind of nicely wraps up our episode today. Next week, look forward to Dr. Wayne, or maybe we'll schedule it in. Dr. Wayne can take us through a session of meditation. I must confess, I have not tried it, so I'm going to look forward to it myself. Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Wayne, and thank you, everyone. We'll see you again in another episode. Bye,
Yeah, see
everyone.
you, everyone. Thanks. Bye.